Thank you for joining us for another fun episode of Sip Sip Hooray. We are the podcast for people who like wine, but also like to keep it real, really real. And today, I can honestly tell you, we're going to make a splash with our guest. She is a 12-time Olympic medalist and the first woman ever to swim the 100-meter backstroke in less than a minute. She's also co-owner of a winery who is very hands-on about being a vintner. She is an all-around badass and a super nice person. She is Natalie Coughlin, and we are so excited to chat with her today. We, of course, are the two Marys who like to eat, drink, and be merry. I'm Mary Babbitt.
That's right, and I'm Mary Orlin. And this 3-time Olympian traded pools for punch downs, swim meets for cooking competitions, and world-class swimming for making world-class wines. Natalie's earned 12 medals, including 3 golds, and now her wines are taking the gold too. She is a super athlete, a vintner, a wife, a mom, a book and cookbook author, a Sports Illustrated swim model, and an Iron Chef judge. Natalie, welcome to Sip Sip Hooray.
Thank you for having me. Man, that was the best introduction I've ever had.
All right.
What's amazing is that you live up to all of that. I mean, none of it is a fib. It's all true.
Oh, well, thank you.
So I guess the first question is, how do you do it all, Natalie?
It's tough, especially the last couple of years, balancing it all between, the pandemic, and then I had my second kid. And I'm one of those people who tends to say yes to everything, which is great because it presents a lot of opportunities, but it also makes me a little crazy. So keeping my schedule straight is tough at times, but I do my best.
Well, I think we should first talk about your path to Olympic swimming. When did you know that you were just an avid swimmer, a natural, and how did competition come about?
Well, I started swim team at age 6. So I did some lessons from the time I was an infant, just because, water safety. We had a pool in the backyard, and my parents were just being really responsible parents by getting me into some lessons. And I ended up moving from Vallejo to Benicia and at age 6. And in order to meet kids in my new town, I joined the local swim team. So that was when I was 6, which also happened to coincide with the 1988 Olympics. And I immediately said, along with all my other friends, I want to go to the Olympics someday. But
who hasn't said that?
Exactly. I had no business saying it at age 6, but I was competitive and very confident, even though I wasn't that good at first. But I said I wanted to go to the Olympics, and then 15 years later, I was actually there.
It is incredible. And, as a parent who put my kids in all the swim lessons and whatnot, my kids didn't, I'm sure they thought they wanted to be in the Olympics also, but it wasn't like anybody really had the drive, or the talent, so I guess what I wonder is, how did you go from this being something that you just were doing for your sport, right, to at some point, did you realize, man, I have a natural gift for this. I have really long arms. I have something that is an advantage. Or was it truly just that I have the fire in the belly that wants this?
It was more the latter. So I definitely have some physical traits that really help swimming. I do have very long arms and a long torso, but I am on the shorter end for a sprinter. So I've always said how I would love to have been, 4 inches taller or so. Mm-hmm. But it was really that I was super competitive from a very, very young age. So it didn't matter what I was doing, whether it was swimming or gymnastics or frisbee or flag football at school, like anything. I wanted to be the best. And so whatever I did, I would try to beat the people next to me. And fortunately, I found swimming and I was the most successful at swimming. I tried some other sports, gymnastics and volleyball and things, but swimming kind of chose me. And I enjoyed being good at it. And so the hard work that swimming takes kind of came naturally because I enjoyed the feedback of improving and getting better and better, and then beating the people on the left and right of me.
Mm-hmm. I am in awe because my swim team experience was joining when I was about 9 years old. I thought the swimsuits were really cool. I wanted one really badly. The only way to get it was join the team. And I think I quit the next day or two. But
worth it.
Totally worth it. And you know what? My mom saved that suit. I found it in her things like 10 years ago. I was shocked. I'm like, Mom, I can't believe you kept this. But anyway, so you swam competitively in college. When did you realize that the Olympics were really within reach?
I realized at age 13, which is really young. But that was when I first finaled at nationals. And it was at 96 Fort Lauderdale Nationals. And I'll never forget it. I was in lane 1 for the 200 freestyle, and the announcer announced me. I remember, it was in lane 1, 13-year-old Natalie Coughlin. And I knew what the path to making the Olympic team looked like, that, you have to qualify for Olympic trials, and you have to get first or second in your event. And I understood the path, and I understood that I was in the upper echelon, and I had the ability to make the Olympic team. So that was the first time that I realized it was a possibility, and that I had a lot of work ahead of me.
And competing in 3 Olympics. Let's talk about that a little bit. What was that like? And did the Olympics each have a different vibe for you? Was there one where it's like, was the 2004 like, yes, this was the most impactful? Or, what were your takeaways from each of the Olympics?
Yes, they were all very, very different. For 2004, that was my first Olympics. So I, had missed making the Olympic team in 2000. And, I was so close, but I didn't make it. So in 2004, it was partially like vindication of, finally being an Olympian. But yet I had so much pressure on me because I was such a great college swimmer. I won NC2A Swimmer of the Year for 3 years and had 12 individual NC2A titles. So I had all these accolades, but none of them were Olympics. So I had a lot of pressure on me in that sense. And I remember it was like I was regarded as such a great swimmer, but I didn't have that gold medal. And so I felt like I kind of needed to get that, that monkey off your back type thing. And so I felt so relieved when I finally got my gold medal in the 100 backstroke, which was, I believe, the 3rd night and of an 8-day competition. So I just felt so much relief after having done that. So that Olympics was all about finally achieving your lifelong dream and being there and having all this pressure of being a first-time Olympian. And then in Beijing, it was all about defending your title and tons and tons of pressure. And then in 2012, I didn't have a great year. So I was only in one event. And that event was the first day. So I was able to compete, earn my 12th medal, and then watch the Olympics and actually be a spectator and, main cheerleader of my Olympic teammates. So they were all very, very different, and I enjoyed them all differently, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it does. And, talk about shaking that monkey off your back in a very definitive way. Your medal count is crazy.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So when you stopped competing, what was that like for you? Because training for Olympics and the type of swimming competitions you were doing takes up so much time and energy. How is it transitioning that out to becoming a civilian?
It's tough. It's really, really tough because I was a professional athlete from 2004, and then, I tried to make the 2016 Olympics, just missed it. So, 12 years of being a professional athlete, and then, not to mention college athletics and everything. So, when you are used to having your life so regimented and being told what to do and having the schedule kind of determined for you 50 weeks out of the year, it's kind of hard when you're done and then you kind of feel like you're flailing, like you don't have anyone telling you what to do or where to be, or you don't have that daily schedule of, 5-6 hours of training. So if you're not prepared for that, it could be very, very tough. Fortunately, I was older. So I think I was 34, I think in 2016. And so I had planned for that. Like I knew swimming was going to end at some point. So when I stepped back from competing, I started shopping my cookbook around, and I ended up selling it at the end of 2016. So I was able to take a little bit of time off of athletics and kind of just enjoy my life for a few months, and then dive in, no pun intended, into writing my cookbook and transitioning in that way. But all that being said, the hardest part for me was going from being with my coaches and my teammates on a daily basis to being in my office and being in my kitchen with pretty much no one around other than my husband and my dogs. And so I went from being around 50 people to, one person all day, which is something that we could all relate to with the lockdowns of the
For
past
sure.
year and a half.
Absolutely.
I remember having like full on conversations with my dogs because I was just so starved for other social interaction.
They're really good listeners.
They are.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I think I love the fact you're clearly a person who, just as you mentioned, you say yes, and going through life with a yes and attitude, the improv thing, yes and.
Yes, of course.
I just think that's you are open to incredible opportunities and incredible things come your way. But you also have this inner confidence that says, I can do it, like write a cookbook. I can do it. Like,
Yeah.
I like cooking too, but never would think I would have what it takes to write a cookbook. And there you went and did it. You just said, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And, what was that like? Had you trained as a cook or a chef in any way, or were you just a home cook who got accolades from your friends and family like, dang, that was delicious. And you thought, well, I can do this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think part of being a professional athlete is we have a lot of hubris, we have a lot of confidence in ourselves. And yeah, like I knew I was a great home cook. For years, one of the big auction items at the Cal Aquatics Gala. So I went to Cal, and we every other year, yeah, go Bears. We would have our biannual maybe not biannual, every other year gala, where I would auction off a dinner for 8, where I'd cater it. It's like 4 courses, and so that was always super successful. Got rave reviews for that.
That's
and
scary.
It was terrible. Oh my God. It was so much. People paid a fortune for that.
Right.
And so it took weeks of prep to do, weeks of prep. And it was, eventually my coach said to me, hey, we're not doing that anymore. You stress out way too much before that, which I was grateful that someone else made that decision for me. But, so I would do that. I would just always cook for my friends and family, post things on either, earlier is on Twitter and then Instagram. And so people had always said, why don't you write a cookbook? And I saw writing the cookbook as a way to share my stories from traveling and from swimming in a different way. Like I didn't want to write a biography or a memoir. So I wanted to write something that appealed to me. And so using food as a method of sharing stories. And so my cookbook has, recipes from the times when I was traveling and training for the Olympics, and a lot of family recipes and just, other recipes that I would make myself throughout the year. And kind of my overall food philosophy, which is eat good food and in moderation. Like you could have super healthy stuff and you could have really indulgent stuff. And I don't believe in things like cheat days. I believe in making thoughtful choices within a lifestyle.
That's terrific. And I was looking at some of the recipes, and some of them are from your grandmother. You come from a Filipino family background. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I was very, very fortunate in that my grandmother is still alive, and my great grandmother was alive until I was in college. So
Wow.
so I was able to pull on my mother's recipes, my grandmother's recipes, and my great grandma's recipes. So I have a chicken adobo that is kind of a hybrid of my mom, grandma, and great grandma's recipe. I have an ukoi, which is a shrimp fritter that goes so well with my wine. It's like one of my favorite pairings. It goes really, really well with the Chenin Blanc. That's my great grandmother's recipe. A bunch of Olympia and halo halo and stuff like that, and stuff that I grew up eating. And even though, I am fair skinned and blue eyed, I do have that Filipino background, and that's the food that makes me so happy. And the food that it was really important for me to include that in my book.
So while you were training for the Olympics and other competitions, where did wine fit in?
It fit in on a nightly basis. I would have a glass of wine with dinner, and I didn't see that as a problem. I'm not having a whole bottle with dinner. I'm having a glass, and that's something that I grew up with. My parents always had a glass of wine with dinner, and it was normal and not taboo. So when I became of drinking age, I wanted to learn more about wine. I'm Napa Valley is in my backyard, and so I wanted to learn more about that industry, and I grew to love wine. And so it fit in with that healthy lifestyle of moderation and making thoughtful choices. That being said, when I went to the Olympics and World Championships and stuff, we would travel with USA Swimming, and they have very, very strict rules that it's completely dry when you're on when you're in training camp.
Okay. All right. Well, I like the philosophy though, with the moderation and the notion, like even the title of your cookbook, Cook to Thrive, the idea of eating good foods in moderation and fueling your body for whether it's for athletic success or just day to day good feelings.
Yeah, and like my degree is in psychology, and I think the psychology of deprivation, like I don't want to be told I can't have something, because knowing me, like that only makes me obsessed with that one thing. So if I say I can't have a glass of wine, or I can't have chocolate, or I can't have butter, all it'll do is make me like obsessed with over certain things,
Ditto.
So I think it's better to have it in moderation, and know that it's part of an overall lifestyle.
All right. Well, let's talk about you getting into wine and getting into Gaderian Wines. How did that come about?
Yeah, so my business partner and friend and winemaker, Shayna Harding, she and I have known each other for maybe close to 15 years or so. And her husband swam with my husband at UC Santa Barbara. And when she moved out to California, she started working her way up in the wine industry. And I was always so impressed with her. She moved out from New York. I mean, she was from Florida, but she was living in New York at the time, moved out to California, started working as a cellar rat, and then just kind of gradually worked her way up to enologist, and then to associate winemaker, and then now she's the winemaker at Honeycut. And I was always very vocal with her in that I was so impressed with how talented she was, and what she had accomplished. You know, she went back to school, went to UC Davis, got her degree in viticulture and enology, and all while working her way in the wine industry. And I was always so fascinated by it all. And in 2017, she texted me and said, "Hey, I want to start a wine brand. Do you want to partner with me?" And I said yes immediately, kind of going with the overall theme of my life. Like, yes, sure. I have no idea what that means, but I can't wait.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, I can do it.
Exactly. So, I said yes immediately. And then I kind of joked with her, like, did you actually mean to text me, or was there someone else in your contacts that you were trying to text? But so we started in 2017 with a Chenin Blanc and Pinot Noir, and we've expanded from there. And while we were getting started, I started taking some online classes at UC Davis in viticulture and enology, just to get my get the knowledge, like the base knowledge. But because of my psychology background at Cal, I did have, bio and plant bio. So I did understand the science a little bit, and I was able to add to my knowledge. But really, winemaking, you learn the most from doing it. And so I've learned so much over the last 5 vintages of winemaking, and it's really fun. The science of it, the art of it, the physical labor of it, it appeals to so many different parts of my brain.
Well, I was reading that you described doing punch downs sort of like swimming.
It is. So we do our punch downs by hand with our Pinot Noir, and it's so great because you sanitize your arms up to your shoulders, and you just lean over the bins and stir up the ferment, because the top of when everything is in bins, so the must and the juice and everything, it's in these big bins, and it's fermenting along, and the cap is the top of the bin, and you don't want that to dry out, and you want the ferment to be even. So you just bend over these big bins, and you just kind of swim through the wine with your arms. In swimming, we call that sculling. So if you think about it,
yes.
like an oar or something, and I have these really, really long arms, and so I love that, and that's probably my favorite thing to do.
Oh, I love it. That's
You're a natural.
Cool. I'm just picturing that. That's an awesome visual image for me. You sculling through the grapes, and
it's so satisfying.
Juice. Are there any other parallels between your swimming competitive world and winemaking?
In that a lot of my former teammates and a lot of the coaches love wine and are great customers, which is lovely. But yeah, that's the only one that really translates.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a lot of physical labor to making wine, from moving the barrels to climbing on the barrel. There's all sorts of things.
So I'm interested in the fact that you could have just been the co-vintner in name only, and
right.
You bring a panache with your Olympic greatness, and you're just a beloved athletic figure in America. So you could have just, started and ended with that, and just, lent your name to the label. But I'm just so excited by the fact that you want to actually help make the wine, and you want to be involved on all levels. So this isn't just some sort of like, oh yeah, you can borrow my name and whatever, and let's make, and go ahead and do this. That you want to be a part of it is awesome.
Yeah, it's so funny because I want it to be authentic. I don't want to just lend my name to something. And it's funny because with other brands, I kind of assume that's what people are doing. There's just with celebrity brands, I'm like, oh, they're not actually out there, but maybe perhaps they are. I have no idea. people are really surprised when they learn that, no, I'm out there, testing bricks and helping with the harvest and helping with the production. And I love that side of it. We just harvested last week our Chenin Blanc. And that was at 3 a.m. So my wake up call that morning was at 1:45. It was a brutally early morning, but I want to be out there and I want to experience it. And part of that is for that authenticity. And, to be frank, part of it's because I'm a control freak. I want this to be successful. And, Shayna and we are two people, we're a 2-woman winery, and we have to both be very flexible in our schedules and flexible in what we do. And so far that has paid off for us because we've been growing thoughtfully every year and creating a good product out of it.
I'm curious as to what it is about Chenin Blanc that both you and Shayna love. It's not a grape that everybody, especially in Napa, would start with. I happen to love Chenin, and I'm so glad you're doing it. And I know Napa has a long history with Chenin, but what was it about that drew you two to it?
It was a few different things. So partially it was because Shayna and I both really love aromatic white wines, just something different. It's not that I don't love a Sauvignon Blanc or a Chardonnay or something, but people experience that and drink that and make that all the time in Napa. We wanted to do something different, and we both love Chenin Blanc. We were able to get some really good fruit, and so it was partially that. Partially, it's more affordable. So when you're getting into the industry, you want something that you don't want to spend too much capital. So it was financial. There was the harvest timing of it all. It fit into Shayna's schedule because she's the winemaker at Honeycut. So as a custom crush facility, when we're in the middle of Cabernet towards the end of harvest, like she is so crazy busy. So Chenin tends to come in a little earlier. So there were a lot of factors. And then you mentioned the history of Chenin. It's such a, Chenin was everywhere in Napa. And little by little it got pulled out. And so we like that it is a nod to the history of the valley. And our Chenin at Henry Ranch is old vine Chenin. So it's one of the few areas that still has vines from over 50 years ago. And it creates this beautiful aromatic white that is different than what you typically see on wine lists.
And I think that's so great. And hopefully people are responding and creating a demand for more Chenin.
I know. It's awesome. You guys are also making Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and a Rosé, yes?
Correct. And we're going to release our Cabernet Sauvignon this September as well. So we're growing little by little, and it's been really, really lovely. So our 2 main wines that we started with are Pinot Noir and Chenin Blanc. And our Pinot Noir, we've been working with the same vineyard for all 5 vintages. It's Sunset Knoll in Carneros. It's really beautiful. Actually, the Press Democrat gave our 2019 98 points. So that was really exciting for us. Yeah, double gold. So
fantastic.
We were so happy about that. So we've been working with that same fruit for all 5 vintages. And then we're also going to add a Merlot this year. We were supposed to add it last year, but with the fires, it was too smoke tainted to work with, unfortunately.
And you all were impacted by the glass fire in 2020 because Honeycut is right next to Chateau Boswell. And for folks who are familiar with what happened during the Napa fires, Chateau Boswell burned to the ground.
Yeah, and Honeycut suffered quite a bit of damage as well. The press pad was engulfed. They had just put in brand new solar panels, and that all burned down. You could see into the gunite. I had no idea it's possible for gunite to burn, but there's like chunks of it missing from the fire. There was a tasting room, like a little house at the beginning of Honeycutt that burnt down. And a bunch of the tanks were damaged. Luckily, all of our wine and most of the wine was in the caves, and so they were safe and sound in there. But it's so scary. And you go up there now,
Right.
and it's surrounded by forest, and it's just charred forest.
It is so brutal, and we're not out of the woods yet this season.
I know, and it's crazy. And all through that, Shayna and her team were working through that. Like, I was terrified for them, and it's just so scary. And it's something that we didn't expect when we started this in 2017. And there's been a fire every single year. It's been, so stressful in that way.
Absolutely. Well, that's kind of become the new normal, that you have to be prepared now for fires to erupt this time of year, unfortunately. And hopefully all the wine growing regions all over will be spared this year, but just time will tell, and we hope the winds will be benevolent this year.
Yeah, and more rain.
Yeah, more rain for sure.
Dang, let's all do the rain dance.
Yeah.
Hey, we didn't talk about, we never said what the name Gaderian, where you guys got that, and also the little critter on your label, the jackalope. It's a cool drawing of this kind of mythical creature. Tell me where you guys came up with Gaderian and then your jackalope.
Yeah, so Gaderian means to gather in Old English. And so when we were coming up with different names for our label, we thought gathering around a table with friends and family. And so we really loved that name. We didn't want it to be, Coughlin Wines or anything like that, because I'm only one half of the brand. And so we came up with that, and we love the name Gaderian. And then when Shayna and I were talking about labels and maybe having a mascot, there are jackrabbits all over the vineyards, especially at the Carneros vineyard. And Shayna jokingly said, "What about a jackalope?" And I loved the idea. I think she was mostly joking, but I was like, yes, let's do a jackalope. And so she had a friend that did the artwork for our little jackalope, and I love it. And we actually have a really great stuffed jackalope that we bring to tastings that people
I love it.
love to see. If we're at any of the wine festivals, like, that's really eye-catching. And it's so funny how many people come up and, in all seriousness, I knew they were real. I told my husband, or I told my friend, I knew they were real. And it's like, and we don't want to break it to them.
That's awesome.
That is so funny. I love that.
Does he have a name, or is his name Gaderian?
Yeah, we've been trying to come up with a name for years, so I will take suggestions of all types.
Well, you not only have fun with your labels, but also with your winemaking notes and your tasting notes. I started reading them, and I just started cracking up. They are hilarious. I'm going to just read a couple. On your Chenin Blanc, you said, "Whole cluster, gentle pressing. We squished those grapes like an auntie on fat baby's cheeks." And your pairing suggestions are bocce snacks, baby lettuces, baby crabs, baby carrots, baby back ribs, baby corn. Just kidding. No wine pairs with baby corn. And I love this one on your Invisible Vineyard Chardonnay. Each berry was peeled by hand and squeezed between the index and forefingers of our right hands to make sure it is our left brain being activated during pressing. I mean, and
that's
that
awesome.
And that the tasting note is, "Ooh, girl, you've got to get some of this. It tastes like a creamsicle melted in your mouth." I love those. So who comes up with that?
That's mostly Shayna. We love our tasting notes on our website, GaderianWines.com, because it's not pretentious. The wine industry could be so pretentious at times, and we wanted to poke fun, tongue in cheek at that with those notes. If you actually click through and then get into the actual wine shop, we do have the real
The legit.
winemaking, yeah, the legit tech sheets.
But these are so much more fun.
Exactly. These are more fun, and it kind of just shows our personality that we are making a serious wine, but we have fun doing so, and we don't take ourselves so seriously, and we want to be approachable. And that kind of goes back to when I started getting into wine as a wine lover. It's intimidating when you're in your early 20s and you go to a winery and you don't know much about it, and you have people just this air of pretension. And I was always so grateful with the people who would kind of take me under their wing and show me the ropes, per se, of wine. And I learned so much, and it could be intimidating.
Oh,
so,
God, yeah. I mean, that's the whole goal of the podcast. We both have felt that it's unnecessarily pretentious and scary for people. And I think part of it, at least for me, was sort of the French factor, which is not to say anything bad about French wines because they're delicious, but just the difference in the pronunciation and how to say, where are we talking about some of these old French wine houses and things. That kind of, I think, added to the, not snootiness, but just made it seem extra, Well,
it made it seem less approachable.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to know geography to understand French wine labels.
Right.
And who knows, Vouvray. Okay. Who except a Chenin Blanc fanatic like me is going to know where Vouvray is?
Not
exactly.
me.
Exactly. So we like to make it approachable, and wine's supposed to be enjoyable. So we like to have fun with it.
Absolutely. Well, you also like to have fun on some other things. We were talking about how swimming has opened so many opportunities for you, and so has your cooking. But there's a couple things we dug up. That one is you were on Dancing with the Stars back in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. What was that like? Was that fun?
Yeah.
It was amazing. I loved every second of it. It was challenging physically. It was so fun to play dress up, especially as a swimmer. I never wore makeup as a swimmer, competing, and never, I was in a swimsuit with, no shoes, and getting to wear these over the top gowns and over the top makeup and hair was so fun. And the competitive side of it was really fun. The reality TV part of it that's the only part that I had. I was too stubborn to really lean into the fact that it is a reality TV show. I just wanted to work hard and be a good dancer. I forgot, you have to sell, you have to sell everything. And it was a tremendous learning experience. But I made friends with so many people from different backgrounds, and I loved it. I was truly sad when I got kicked off.
Well, did you dance before that? Did you know anything about dancing going in, or
no,
were you just
no.
Did you to get down at a wedding reception or something?
Yeah, socially I love to dance, but no. And I was really good at memorizing the choreography. It was
not surprising.
Yeah. I mean, the physical aspect of it, being an athlete, and especially swimming, we have to think of everything that is happening in our bodies when you swim. And so that really translated well to dancing. But I loved it so much.
And what was your favorite dance?
My favorite dance, sadly, was the Paso Roble, which is what we got kicked off for.
What is the Paso Roble? I don't know it.
It's a Spanish dance, and it was there's a lot of stomping, and we did it to American Woman, like Lenny Kravitz's American Woman.
Okay.
And I was wearing basically a Wonder Woman outfit. It was awesome, and we had so much fun. And apparently there was an illegal lift, and
oh wow.
I'm not bitter about it, 12 years later.
Only a little.
That's funny. So something else kind of daring that you did was you were in Sports Illustrated in a swimsuit spread, and it was a body paint swimsuit. So what was that like, and how long did that take, and how did it feel?
It was incredible. The artist, I think her name's Joanne Gare or Gar. She is an artist in every sense of the word. Like it took maybe 8, 10, maybe even longer, 12 hours of painting
Wow.
to get that suit on me. And in real life, it really looked like I was wearing a suit. I did not feel naked at all.
Wow.
It was crazy. And the whole process is really interesting because Speedo actually physically made a suit. And then Joanne, she copied that onto my body. It was the craziest thing.
Oh, wow.
And just like the shading and it was amazing just to watch her work. And being a swimmer, we don't wear that much anyway. And I felt very, very comfortable. That the people at that shoot were incredible, and I was very grateful to be a part of that because it's such an iconic issue, and I was just really happy to be included.
Yeah.
Cool.
For our listeners, you should just do a Google search for them. When I looked at the photos that were in the Sports Illustrated spread, it looked like a fabric swimsuit. I could not believe that was body paint.
And the craziest thing, like in real life, like I have iPhone photos of it really does look like a suit. It wasn't photoshopped to look like a suit. In real life, it did.
Yeah.
Well, and also it shows off your incredibly muscular, your what you've worked so hard on. Your body has been an instrument for you to, help you reach your success. And, so it's cool that you got to show that off, that strength that you've achieved through really, really hard work.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've always had a lot of muscle. So it's important to show like different female bodies and, and to show that, strength could also be beautiful is something that having a daughter, I think that's really important.
Well, I wanted to ask you about being a mom to 2 kids now. What is that like? Are you enjoying the journey? Are you exhausted? You mentioned getting up for that early morning harvest, I think it was. And I was thinking, your baby, is he even a year youngest? Is he even a year yet?
No, he's 9 months. But
so those morning wake ups you're probably pretty used to getting up in the middle of the night.
I was insane with both kids with sleep training.
Oh, you are?
I was, again, it goes to that control freak side of me. The sleep training, we got on that very early. And I've been blessed with 2 kids that sleep very, very well. So I'm very fortunate in that. But yeah, I'm used to getting up early, but when you're setting your alarm at 1 something, that's just a little too much. But yeah, being a mom is great. My kids are 2.5 and 9 months, so it's a lot. We're in a stage where my daughter's physically attacking my son at all times because she's jealous, and having 2 so young and being at home so much is tough. But they're so stinking adorable that it makes it it makes the craziness worth it. But they're great, and my daughter just started preschool last week, which was so exciting for all of us. So she's in there a couple times a week, and it's been great. It's been really great.
I think I saw some photos on your Instagram of her cooking a little.
Yeah, she helps me a little bit. She has her little apron and stool, and she likes to help in the kitchen. Just this morning she was helping me make her scrambled eggs, and she does, for a 2-year-old, she does a really good job of cracking eggs and into a bowl without making a total mess.
Oh, cute. So
Will
cute.
you get her in? Is she swimming yet, or are you getting her in the pool at all? She's probably a little young to be learning actual swimming, but
no, they're both swimming. They're both in swim lessons.
That's awesome.
Yeah. My daughter, she's very good at swimming already. It's all about water safety. But yeah, she's fearless, and she loves to swim. And we even put her in my husband's swim team, she did a time trial at the beginning of summer for the summer league. It was the cutest thing ever.
That's
20,
awesome.
25 free.
So when it comes to competitive swimming for your kids or competitive anything, what's your philosophy on it? Because I know a lot of parents like want to raise a champion. And I was once I got to chat with Brandy Chastain at a soccer game, and she was saying, like it's not about what the parents want. It's like it's a kid driven thing. She said, I think for parents trying to build a champion by pushing, they're misled on it. Would you agree with that?
Definitely. Definitely. It has to be that internal motivation.
Did you feel that as a kid? Like you were just, get me in the water. I love it.
There are things I didn't like about it. Swimming is in Northern California in the winter is not fun. and it's a tough sport. It is a really, really tough sport. So there were times that I wanted to quit for sure. But my parents, their rule was that I had to be dedicated to something outside of academics. So I had to, do well in school, do my best in school. But I also had to dedicate myself towards something outside of school just to keep myself busy and healthy. And so I chose swimming. And, when I would get to those tough times where I was just over it, they would help me through it. So it's really, the biggest thing I could tell parents is that your job is to be supportive. Your job is not to be their coach. Your job is not to direct their athletic career. And my husband's a coach, and he knows how difficult that is when a parent is doing all the directing. Just be supportive for your kid and help them find the sport that they love. My kids may not love swimming. They do now, but in a few years, maybe she likes soccer, or maybe, he likes baseball, who knows? But I can tell already they're pretty physical kids. So I think we'll have to get them into sports just to burn off some of that energy.
Wear them out.
Yes. My son is already climbing things like ladders and slides, and he's 9 months old. So
wow.
Yeah.
You got your hands full. A couple more things I wanted to ask about that you've been involved in on the food side. You were on Chopped. You competed and made it to the final round against Danica Patrick. What was that like, being in that pressure cooker of a situation where you're timed? You have to think on your feet, open that mystery box, and make whatever you can from the ingredients there.
It was so funny. The night before we shot that, I actually had nightmares about it. And I have never had nightmares about anything in my life, like before the Olympics or before Dancing with the Stars. Never had nightmares. Before Chopped, I did. And it was funny. It was a long day. It was I couldn't believe it for I think it's a half-hour show. Maybe
right.
It's an hour.
It's an hour.
It's an hour. Okay. We shot that for 18 hours. I could not believe it.
Oh my word.
I could not believe it. I was leaving with Danica after we shot that at like 2 a.m. It was a long day. But it was really, it was a great exercise in making a decision and then going with it. So when I say that, for instance, a ingredient was almonds. So you see the almonds, you see that clock of counting down. And you're like, okay, I'm going to make almond milk. You put all the almonds in there, you make almond milk. And then you think, oh, if this doesn't work, I'm completely screwed. So right. you have to make that almond milk work, and you have to make it work within your dish. So it's great exercise and making a choice, sticking with it, and figuring out how to pivot when stuff doesn't go your way. It was challenging because you don't know where things are in the kitchen. You don't know what works, what doesn't. And I know I'm a great cook, but I don't ever time myself. Like that's the challenge of a show like that is, I can make a great meal if I give myself 2.5 hours, but if I
Sure.
have 20 minutes, that's another story.
I don't think I could do it. And I love to cook.
It was fun, and I was so impressed with what I was able to come up with after every round, because it is such a pressure cooker, and you are working with odd ingredients like chocolate covered marshmallows with a steak. Okay, we'll make that work.
Okay, how did you make that work?
I with some red wine, I like reduced it. I kind of melted it into some red wine and made it like a sauce,
Okay.
like a demi-glaze type sauce
That's
with
a good
the
idea.
yeah, it was. And then it's funny because after that show, after that shooting that show, so many different ideas would come into my head. I'm like, oh, I should have used this that way or this that way. But you make a decision, you stick with it.
That's true.
Yeah. It's cooking on the fly and in front of cameras and with a timer, with the clock ticking.
So intimidating. And then you were on the other side of the judges table when you were a guest judge on Iron Chef America. So what was it like? Because you had Mario Batali and Emeril Lagasse against Bobby Flay and the chef of the White House at the time. This was in 2010. And I think the White House Garden Produce was their battle. And you were judging with Nigella Lawson and Jane Seymour, I think. So
Yep.
How did that go? What was that like?
That was incredible. Yeah, so the secret ingredient was the White House garden. So unfortunately, I wasn't there when they harvested everything for that episode, because I would have loved to have seen the White House garden. And it was part of former First Lady Michelle Obama's, campaign for,
Right.
healthy living and everything. So that was really cool. And it was Chef Chrisetta Comerford and Bobby Flay, and then Emeril Lagasse and Mario Batali. And I was just in awe of them. Like, they were all so proficient in what they did in the kitchen, and they were so relaxed, especially Chef Batali. He had been there before. He knows where everything is. He did not care that there was an hour to do everything. He was relaxed and confident, knowing his abilities. And whenever you get to see someone who is so good at what they do and they make it look effortless, that's such a treat, And on top of it, the food was incredible. Like, I was so impressed. When we had to give some negative feedback, I felt like I was being so nitpicky because it was all so good and so impressive in what they were able to create in less than an hour.
Well, as we get ready to wrap up here, I was wondering if there's any last words you want to leave us with. I know that your Gaderian Wines, you guys have a wine club people can join, and you're a relatively small producer. So if you want in on your wines, people can go to your website, but also being part of the wine club might be the way to make sure you get, because you're already sold out of some of your stuff. Chard is sold out?
Yeah, our 2018 Chardonnay is sold out. Our 2020 Rosé will sell out very, very soon. Our Petite Syrah was for club members only. So yeah, we have our club membership, which is called The Gathering. And it's really affordable. It's 3 shipments of 4 bottles a year. So you get a case a year, and then you, on top of it, anything outside of club membership, you get 20% off. So if you want to give us a try, it's you just go to our website, gaderianwines.com, and sign up there, and you'll get an email from either me or Shayna. And and then all the socials, we're Gaderian Wines. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Gaderian Wines.
And if people want to taste your wines, is that possible?
It is, with appointment only. So you'll have to contact us through the website, and we could set that up.
Well, I know you guys are going to be getting pretty busy here heading into harvest pretty soon. So what are you looking most forward to about the harvest experience?
I'm really looking forward to getting through a season without a fire, hopefully. So like I said, we're going to add Merlot to our program this year. We were really excited to do so last year and didn't get to. We're getting some beautiful Merlot from the Beckstoffers. Our Cabernet Sauvignon, making that again will be exciting because I only have experience with our 2019, which is now in bottle. And so to have that going again would be great. And then experimenting a little bit. In 2020, we did our rosé whole cluster press. In 19 and 18, we did it with the Saunier. So we're going to do it both ways this year, see what we like best, and
Oh, cool.
and it'll be a fun experiment for Shayna and me.
Neat.
Well, I can certainly see why people want to gather around your table. Natalie, you are such an impressive person, not only because of your athletic achievements, but also just your hardworking, authentic self and the classy way that you run your life. So kudos to you and continued success to you. You're somebody that we all want to cheer for because you're just so nice and so, like I said, hardworking and down to earth. So kudos to you.
And we love that you're making your wines that are approachable, and you do it with a sense of fun, and you don't take yourself too seriously, and that you are really, truly hands-on.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on Sip Sip Hooray today. We do hope it's a good year for the winery and also for your family. Congratulations again on your sweet little family. That's so cool. Your new baby and your 2.5-year-old. And just really love chatting with you, Natalie. So thanks for taking the time with us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And everybody, we encourage you to check out Gaderian Wines and pour a glass and toast to Natalie.
Sip, sip, hooray, Natalie.
Sip, sip, hooray. Cheers.
Cheers. Well, Mary Babbitt, Natalie is so cool. She's so down to earth. And, for being an Olympic athlete, I didn't know what to expect. And she's just lovely. And it reminds me of the time that we've had the pleasure of interviewing perhaps the only other Olympian who's had a wine label, and that was Peggy Fleming.
Oh, who also just incredibly, like Natalie, a class act and really hardworking, hands-on when it came to her winery. Well,
Yes.
really, and like Natalie, everything in her life. I think maybe they're just wired that way. To be able to achieve Olympic success, you have to be hardwired to be willing to work hard and get your hands dirty and just go for it and say yes to opportunities like Natalie.
I love that philosophy. Absolutely. And so just say yes to listening to our podcast. We're so glad you've joined us. And we hope you will check out future episodes. You can sign up and also listen to other episodes on our website, sipsiphoooraypodcast.com.
Yeah, and you can find us on social media, on Instagram and Facebook. We are Sip Sip Hooray Podcast. And on Twitter, we are
Sip Sip Hooray, the number one.
That's right, because we are number one.
That's exactly. We haven't won gold yet, but we're going for it.
Any day now. Well, yeah, thanks for listening to our show. And we hope to continue to bring more exciting guests like Natalie Coughlin. And again, her winery is Gaderian Wines. So do seek it out and know that Natalie has put some of her heart and soul and love into each bottle too.
Well, thanks again for joining us. And Mary, it's been another great episode. Looking forward to the next one. Sip, sip, hooray.
Cheers to you, Mary Orlin.